Nestled in the farm country of central Kentucky lies a small town of about 6,000 people. It's quaint, unassuming. Actually, it's so unassuming to the point that if you didn't know it was there, odds are you'd probably just drive right past it. When I went in 2012, cell service was so bad in the area I couldn't even use my GPS to find it. For being such a small, unassuming town, it does have one major claim to fame. On February 12th, 1809, just a few miles south of town, at a small farm, Abraham Lincoln was born. Now, my name's Dan. You're watching a new show here on the channel. This is Hometown History, where we talk all about the odd, unusual places and why you should visit them. In 1806, Thomas Lincoln bought a small farm just south of Hodgenville, Kentucky, of about 300 acres, called Sinking Spring, as a result of the small spring that was actually on the property. And it was here, in 1809, that his son, Abraham, was born. Now, despite the spring on the grounds, the farm itself was not very good land for farming, and in 1811, Thomas bought another small farm, this one slightly northeast of Hodgenville. Now, this property was called the Knob Creek Farm, as a result of its proximity to Knob Creek, you guessed it. Now, it was at the Knob Creek Farm that some of Abraham's earliest memories took place. He vividly recalled later in life helping his father plant corn and pumpkins. It was also at the Knob Creek Farm that Abraham would begin to attend school. All told, he attended probably about 2 years cumulatively, of course not all at once, of what was called an ABC school. He probably learned the basics of the alphabet and just basic ciphering, addition and subtraction. Now, in 1816, Thomas decided to pack up his family and move across the border, across the Ohio River, to Indiana. Now, there were a couple of reasons for this, and one of them goes back to even why they left the Sinking Spring farm to begin with. Aside from the fact that the land in Sinking Spring was not very good for farming, there was a property title claim already on the property, and Thomas got sort of kicked off the property as a result of not being able to definitively show that he owned it. The same thing happened at the Knob Creek Farm. Thomas got wrapped up in property litigation and ultimately just decided it would be easier to move across the river. Now, the reason for Indiana is because at the time, the entire state of Indiana, or the territory of Indiana rather, had been surveyed by the federal government. As a result, any land claims in Indiana were definitive. He actually had the deed, the property rights to whatever property he was able to attain, as opposed to the Kentucky property, which was not definitively surveyed. At the time of all this happening, Abraham Lincoln was aged 7. Now, a couple of the neat things about Hodgenville itself. Like I said, just a little bit south of town is the actual birth site of Abraham Lincoln, the Sinking Spring Farm. If you go there, it is a National Historic Site. Really cool place. Got a monument at the top of 56 steps, representing how old Abraham Lincoln was when he died. Inside the memorial is a small log cabin. It is not the actual cabin that was at Sinking Spring. That got torn down a few years after Thomas left the property. The wood used for other cabins. There is a small cabin. There's a lot of debate. You can Google. I'll try and put some links in the comment or in the description below, sort of detailing some of the controversy about the cabin itself. It's supposedly period, or at least the wood is period, but the cabin itself was not actually the original cabin to the property. But that being said, you can see other things on the property, and it's just cool kind of being there, the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln. Especially for me, I'm a Lincoln man, history nerd. I love studying the Civil War, so it was a really big deal for me to be able to go and see that. Things that you can also see are the remainders of what's called the property oak. It's a very, very large tree that once was the boundary oak, rather, that was once formed part of the property boundary. In Hodgenville itself, of course, Lincoln was sort of their literally hometown son. There is a small Lincoln Museum just off the town square. It's a cool place. Just wax dioramas, sort of portraying. You can walk through the museum and see these dioramas playing out the life of Abraham Lincoln. It's quaint. It's charming. It's a nifty little hometown type museum. But it's a neat place to go and just kind of visit. You can spend an afternoon there. And speaking of the town square, just outside the museum, there are 2 statues in the town square itself. One of them is of a seated Abraham Lincoln as an adult. The statue was dedicated in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of his birth. His son, Robert Todd Lincoln, actually attended the dedication ceremony. Across the square is a smaller statue that would be dedicated much later. It's of boyhood Lincoln across the square to kind of contrast with the presidential figure, sort of where he was coming from and where he ended up. On the pavement in between the two statues is engraved the words of the Gettysburg Address, as well as the words of the second inaugural. Overall, Hodgenville's a really neat place, a good place to spend a couple of days. It is kind of off the beaten path. There's no hotels in the town itself. It's just a tiny little town, just in farm country. Elizabethtown would be the next largest town, a little bit to the north. So if you do end up going, that's where you'd have to probably get a hotel room or something. But overall, it's a nifty place if you're just driving through central Kentucky. Easy place to stop off and see. Really cool place to visit for any history buffs or Lincoln fans. And it's just kind of generally a quaint, cozy little town. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you like the new show. We'll have more episodes to come just about some nifty places kind of off the beaten path, cool places to visit, things to see. Some with a historical bent, some not necessarily so historical, some that are just fun to go and visit. Be sure to like the video, give us a big thumbs up down below if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button for all the latest episodes of Hometown and Bookworm history. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by.